Welcome to Fear and Fiction, where the stories are strange and the fear is real. What's going on, Fear and Fiction family? We're back. Today we're going to dive into some corner store horror stories. Now, I know everyone has that corner store they grew up around. You might still go to it, or you have a corner store that you go to. I have some stories here. Let me know what you think. Now, let's get into it.
So I need to get this off my chest because I have not told anybody the full version of this. Not my girl, not my boys, nobody. It has been sitting on me for 3 weeks and I cannot shake it. I work nights, deliveries, so I am driving all over North Omaha at hours when most normal people are asleep, running the same routes every night, to the point where you stop even seeing the buildings. They just become part of the drive. You know how that is. There is a store on North 24th, down past Lake Street, closer to where it meets Burdette. Little corner spot, brick, metal gate down over the door, windows soaped over white, the kind of closed that just looks permanent. I stopped thinking of it as a store a long time ago, just that empty building on the corner, except the light comes on at night. I noticed it maybe 2 months back, coming down 24th around 9, and there is a light on in the back of this store. Warm yellow, low, behind the soap glass, the kind of glow you only catch if you happen to look right at it. First time I figured somebody bought the place. Made sense. Building sits empty long enough. Somebody comes along. I did not think about it again. But then it kept happening. Same light, same time, every single night. And during the day, nothing. Gate still down, windows still soap, no contractor trucks, no sign of life at all, just the light at 9, for however long I happened to drive past. I mentioned it to a dude I know who grew up over there, figured he would know who bought the building. He got a look on his face, said that building has been through a few owners and none of them ever made it stick, said the building does not hold a business. His exact words. Then he said the part that has been in my head ever since. He said, "You seen the light, huh?" Like he already knew. Like it was a thing people knew about and just did not discuss. I am not somebody who scares easy. So about 3 weeks ago, I decided I was going to stop and actually look, just to put it to rest. I pulled my car onto Burdette where I could see the front of the store, cut my headlights, and I sat and I waited. 9 o'clock. The light came up, slow, like a dimmer being turned, warm yellow rising from nothing over about 4 seconds. And my whole body knew something was wrong before my brain finished the thought. You know that feeling. Not fear exactly, just your body saying, hey. I got out. I walked up to the gate, and there is a gap in the soap on the corner of the glass, worn away or scraped, maybe the size of your palm. I crouched down, and I looked through it. Back room behind the main floor, doorway with no door, empty store, no shelves, no coolers, nothing except bare floor and that bulb on a cord. And under the bulb there was an old wooden counter, the real old kind, worn smooth on top from decades of hands. The kind of counter that has not been sold in a store in 50 years. And there was a man standing behind it, older black man, dressed a little off, a little out of time, like old photographs, Sunday clothes from a different era. He was not doing anything. He was standing behind that counter the way you stand when you are working, waiting on the next customer, looking at the door, looking at where I would have walked in. I want to be honest. I did not scream. I did not run. I crouched there with my eyes stuck to that gap in the glass, and I could not make myself move, because the longer I looked, the more I understood that he was not surprised that somebody was at the glass. He had been waiting. The light comes on at 9, because that is when the store opens. The man stands behind the counter, because that is his job. And I was the first person to actually come to the door in, I do not know how long. He started to come around the counter. That is when I left. I do not fully remember the walk back to my car. I remember being inside with the doors locked and my hands not working to get the key in. And when I finally got my headlights back on and looked at the store, The light was already going back down, slow, warm yellow to nothing over 4 seconds. I looked the building up afterward, found the property records. That building has had no active electrical account for 4 years. No power, nothing running into that building at all. I still run that route. I have to. It is my job. I pass that store every night around 9. I keep my eyes on the road now, and I do not look, because here's the part that actually keeps me from sleeping. The first time I looked through that glass, the man was behind the counter. He was waiting for a customer. He started coming around when he saw me at the door. I left before he got there, before the distance closed. But he saw my face. He knows somebody finally came to the door, and I am terrified that the next time I look through that gap, he is not going to be standing behind the counter anymore. Because in a store, when a customer comes to the door, you do not stay behind the counter. You go to meet them. I need to tell somebody what actually happened at Mr. Eddie's, because it has been eating at me, and the version most people know is missing the part that matters. I worked the evening shift at Mr. Eddie's store on Walnut Street in Milwaukee for 3 years. 3 years. This is the part of the city old heads still call Bronzeville, and Mr. Eddie's was one of those stores that had been on the same corner so long, it was basically a landmark. Everybody in the neighborhood knew it. Everybody knew him. The man did not miss days. I need you to understand that first, before anything else. Snowstorms that shut the city down, he was there. His knees were bad toward the end, and he came in on a stool and ran the register from that stool, but he was there. He told me once that somebody had to keep the lights on for the block. He meant it as more than a saying. He had rules about closing. You counted the drawer twice. You locked the back door before you touched the front, and the small light over the register stayed on. Always. That light did not go off. He said it had been on since his father ran the store, and he was not going to be the man who finally turned it off. I thought it was a sweet old-timer thing, so I left the light on every night, like he said, every single night for 3 years. Now here's what happened. I have gone over this in my head probably 1,000 times, and I'm telling you it does not get less strange the more you look at it. If anything, it gets worse. I showed up for my afternoon shift on a Tuesday. The gate was still down. That had never happened, not once in 3 years. I called Mr. Eddie, straight to voicemail. I called his daughter, and she picked up immediately because she had been trying to reach him since the night before and going straight to voicemail too. And her voice had that sound in it. She was already scared before I called. We got the property manager to come unlock it, and inside, everything was exactly right. That is the part I keep coming back to. There was no mess, nothing knocked over, no sign anything went wrong. The drawer was counted and closed, neat, exactly the way Eddie did it every night. The back door was locked. The front door was bolted from the inside. I need you to sit with that, the way I had to sit with it. The front door has a deadbolt that turns with a key from outside and a latch from inside. The door was bolted from the inside, which means whoever was the last person in that store locked that door from inside and then was not in the store. There is no other way out. No back door that seals behind you. No window that opens to outside. We stood there, me and his daughter and the property guy, looking at each other, and none of us said anything for a long time because there was nothing to say that made sense. Then his daughter looked past us toward the register. The light was off. 70 years that light had been on. His father put it on, and it never went off, and Mr. Eddie kept it on for 30 more years after his father passed. And that Tuesday morning, it was off for the first time since anyone could remember. They never found him. I want to be clear. That is not a story I am making dramatic. That is the actual thing that happened. Police came, looked into it. Nothing. No bank activity, no phone activity, no camera footage of him leaving anywhere, nothing to follow. A man who never missed a day in 3 years walked out of a store that locked behind him in a way that is not physically possible, and nobody ever saw him again. His daughter kept the store going a few months, then had to close it. Last year, a developer bought the building. Before they gutted it, she asked me to help clear out what was left. We went through the back office. There was a desk with drawers I had never opened in 3 years because the back office was Eddie's space, and you did not go in Eddie's drawers. We opened them now, mostly old paperwork going back decades. But in the bottom drawer, underneath everything else, there was a stack of old newspaper clippings, yellow, soft with age. Stories about the city tearing down most of Walnut Street back in the day, pictures of buildings coming down, lists of businesses that got pushed out, and sitting on top of that stack, there was one piece of paper, not old, new, regular notebook paper, 3 words in handwriting. His daughter looked at it and the color went out of her face. I asked her what was wrong. She said that was not her father's handwriting. She knew his handwriting better than anyone alive, and it was not his father's either, because she had a box of his letters at home and she knew that hand too. Somebody put that note in a locked drawer in a locked office, in a building that had been empty for months. We are still here. I think about Eddie all the time, about a man who would not turn off a light that his father left on, about a whole street of stores that got torn down one by one until his was the only one left standing, and one man who refused to close the last one. I think about that note. I believe it. I just do not think it was written by anybody living. And I think wherever Mr. Eddie is now, he knows exactly what it means. I work at a little market at 23rd and Union in Seattle, Central District. Been there almost a year, and I need to talk about the man. There is a man who shows up at the corner most evenings, right around that long Seattle dusk when the light goes gold and then gray. He stands near the bus stop, but he is not waiting for a bus. He faces the store. He never comes in, never asks anybody for anything, just stands there, maybe 45 minutes, and then at some point you look up and he is gone. First week on the job, I asked my manager Denise about him. She has worked this corner over 20 years. She gave me one word, changed the subject so fast I felt it in the air, and I knew not to push. So I just watched him on my own. Older man, maybe 70s, dressed slightly out of time. Not crazy, just a little off, like the clothes belonged to a photograph from another decade. And I noticed he is never bothered by weather. I have watched him stand in straight down Seattle rain while everybody else packs under the awning. He just stands there, not getting wet in a way that is hard to describe without sounding like I am making it up. But I am not making it up. The second time I asked Denise, she told me more. She said he has been coming since before she started 20 years ago. She said longtime employees and longtime residents all described the same man, same spot, same time, going back further than anyone can pin down. Nobody has ever seen him up close. People who tried to approach him described the same strange thing. You walk toward the corner and somehow the distance does not close. You keep walking and he stays just as far away. And at some point you stop because something in your body tells you to stop. Now here's what I actually need to tell you. For almost a year, that man never once looked at me, not one time. He watched the store, the corner, the street, not the people in it. And honestly, there is a comfort in being beneath something's attention. I got used to him the way you get used to anything that is just always there. He was part of the corner, same as the bus stop sign, same as the broken meter out front. A few weeks ago, I was out front at close, pulling the gate down when I felt it. You know the feeling, the specific weight of being looked at. Before your brain processes it, your body already knows. I turned around. He was at the corner, same spot. But he was not facing the store. He was facing me, looking right at me. And I finally understood what Denise was protecting me from my first month. Nobody ever got close to him, not because he would not let them close the distance. It was because nobody held his attention long enough to be worth it. You could watch him for a year and stay safe. Watching him was not the dangerous part. Being watched back was. I went inside. I locked the door. I kept all the back room lights on, which I never do. It has not stopped. That is what I need people to understand. This did not happen once and go away. Since that night, most evenings when I look up, he is facing my direction. Not the store, me. And the worst nights are when I'm pulling the gate and I look up and the distance between us is smaller than it was the night before. Not by a lot, just a little. just enough that I can tell. He is closing the distance. The thing everybody said could not happen is happening now, because something changed the night I looked back at him and he looked back at me. Denise put her notice in last week. She would not explain it, and she would not look at me when I asked. But her last shift, she pulled me aside by the register, quiet, and she said one thing. She said, "I made it 20 years because I never once let him catch my eye." Then she said, "You should not have looked back at him. I did not know. Nobody told me. You spend a year thinking the scary part is the man at the corner, and the whole time the actual scary part was the one rule nobody says out loud. Do not let him notice you noticing him." I keep my eyes down when I close now. I stare at the gate, the ground, the door handle, but I can feel it out there. That presence at the corner, getting closer, and I do not know what happens when the distance finally closes all the way. I do not know if I will be there the night it does. If you are ever at 23rd and Union around dusk, and you see an older man at the corner just facing the store and not moving, do me a favor. Buy your stuff, look at the floor, and do not look at him on your way out. He has been patient for 20 years. He can be patient a little longer. Do not give him a reason to stop. My family has run a corner store in the Fillmore in San Francisco for 2 generations. I'm not going to give you the exact address, and in a second, you will understand why. It has been in my family for 2 generations. My father ran it before me and his father before him. 4 years ago, it became mine. If you know the Fillmore, you know it used to be a completely different place. Jazz clubs everywhere. The Harlem of the West is what people called it. Before the city ran a redevelopment program through the neighborhood in the 50s and 60s that wiped out most of it. We are one of the last few black-owned spots still standing on our stretch. That part matters for what I'm about to tell you. Last spring, I finally upgraded the security system. Old cameras were useless. Half of them did not record. I put in a real setup. Cloud storage, motion alerts, practical decision after a break-in attempt. I was not looking for anything except working cameras. First week, I was just reviewing footage to make sure the angles were right. And at 3 in the morning, 4th night of the new system, I found something I have watched probably 200 times since. The store is locked at 3 in the morning, alarm armed. I checked the system logs the moment I saw it, because the first thing you think is somebody got in. No alarm trigger, no door sensor activation, 0 events in the system log. And yet, there are people in my store, 3, maybe 4 figures, and they are dressed wrong. I do not know fashion history, but anyone can see it. The cut of the clothes, a woman in a dress with that old structured shape, a man in a hat you would not wear to a corner store today, and they are moving through my aisles slow and comfortable, the way regulars move, the way people who know a place move, not confused, not looking for the exit, at home. They do not touch anything. They do not pick up a single item. They move through the store and around each other like people who know each other without talking. After about 90 seconds, frame by frame, if you step through it slowly, they are gone, not walking out. They're one frame, not they're the next. I called my father, described everything, and my father got quiet on the phone the way he does when something matters. And then he told me something he had never told me before. Never told my mother, never told anyone. He said sometimes, late, when he was alone in the store doing inventory, he used to hear music, not from outside, from inside the building somewhere, faint, old jazz, the kind that used to come out of every door on this block before the city cleared it all out. He said he never saw anybody. He just heard it sometimes and learned to work through it and go home. He did that for 30 years without saying a word to a soul. I started actually watching the 3 a.m. footage after that, and it has happened 3 more times since spring, always around 3, always that same small group. I cannot tell you with certainty if it is the same people every time, but it feels like the same people. They know where they are. They are comfortable in a way that has started to feel like they were here before we were. And then last month, I found the footage that made me stop sleeping right. Most recent time it happened, I was stepping through it frame by frame like I do now, and in the middle of the aisles, the woman in the dress stopped walking. The others kept moving. She stopped. She turned, and she looked up, at the camera, right at it, dead into the lens. For one frame, she is looking directly into the camera with the specific expression of somebody who just realized they are being watched. One frame. Then she is facing away again, and 90 seconds later, they are all gone. For 30 years, my father heard them in the store, and they never knew he was there. I put in cameras good enough to actually capture them, and I think those cameras are good enough now that they can tell when someone is watching. I have not figured out what to do. Part of me wants to pull every camera out of the wall. Part of me is afraid that taking them out now, after she looked into that lens, is its own kind of mistake. Like turning your back on something right after it just learned your face. I keep the system running. I do not review the 3 a.m. footage unless I have to. And when I am closing up alone now, I have started doing the thing my father did for 30 years without telling me. I listen. And the nights I think I almost hear something, down in the floor, like a sound the building is keeping, I get out fast, and I do not look at the aisles on my way to the door, because they are comfortable in there. They move through my store like they have been doing it for decades. And I'm starting to think we are not actually the ones the building belongs to. We are just the ones currently running it. Okay, so this happened back in October, and I'm going to put the whole thing here because I need to get it out, and I need people to tell me if they have experienced this or if I'm losing my mind. I live in Harlem, few blocks off 125th. There is a bodega near me that runs 24 hours, classic spot. The cat is always by the register, same dude behind the counter who has been there as long as I have lived in the neighborhood. I am up late a lot. I go down there for snacks at stupid hours more times than I should probably admit. 5-minute walk, safe enough. I have done it probably 100 times without thinking twice. One night in October, I went down around midnight, got my stuff, paid, said what up to the counter guy, started walking home. About a block from the store, footsteps behind me. Not a big deal by itself. Midnight in Harlem, people are out. But these stayed with me. Same pace, same distance back for longer than felt random. So I sped up. The footsteps sped up. Same distance, just faster. Like whatever it was made an adjustment and kept going. And that is the part that made my stomach drop. Because when you speed up and the thing behind you speeds up exactly, that is not a coincidence. That is a response. I turned around. Nobody there. Empty sidewalk, parked the cars, a couple of lit windows, nothing. I kept walking. Footsteps came back within half a block. I am not going to pretend I handled this calmly. I had my keys out, one poking through my fingers, and I was moving fast. The footsteps stayed with me the whole way home. All 5 blocks. I turned twice more. Both times, nothing there. Both times the footsteps came back within seconds of me facing forward. I crossed the street on purpose just to see, and I heard them cross too, staying that exact same distance back, like it knew what I was doing and was not even bothered. I got to my building, got inside, got the door locked. The footsteps stopped the exact second the lock clicked, not faded, not trailed off, stopped like someone cut the sound. I stood in the lobby for a while before I went upstairs. Then I went to my apartment and I locked that door too. And I checked the windows and I sat on my couch and I did not sleep for a long time. For a few weeks after, nothing. I started to think maybe I had worked myself up. Maybe it was some guy walking the same way who happened to go inside somewhere near my building. Maybe. I almost had myself convinced. Then 3 nights ago I went back to the bodega. I know. But I needed something and I told myself I was being irrational and I walked down there. I got what I needed, and I walked up to the counter to pay. And I noticed the cat was not by the register. The cat was at the back of the store, low to the ground, completely still, staring at the cooler section. That specific kind of stare that cats do, where the whole body goes rigid and the tail puffs up and they lock onto something you cannot see. The counter guy was watching the cat too. He was not ringing me up. He was just watching the cat. He said, "Quiet." Not really to me. It has been doing that the last few nights. Around this time, I looked where the cat was looking. Cooler doors at the back of the store. full glass front. And in the reflection on that glass, with the store lights above us, there was a figure standing in the aisle behind me. I turned around immediately. The aisle was empty. I could see the whole aisle, nothing there. But in the reflection, it was still there, standing, facing the front of the store, facing me, the same distance back that the footsteps had been. I put my stuff on the counter without finishing the transaction, and I walked out, fast. And I walked home with my head straight and my eyes forward, and I did not hear footsteps the whole way back. The street was silent. I got to my building, inside, door locked. Nothing followed me that night, and I know I should feel relieved about that, but I do not, because the first time something followed me home and stopped when I was safe inside, like it was making sure I got there. But this time, it did not need to follow me, because it already knows where I live. It walked me there once. It does not have to do it again. It can just wait at the bodega in the reflection at the same distance until I come back. The counter guy said it has been doing that the last few nights, around this time. Around the time I come in, I have not gone back. I order delivery now like a person with sense, but I keep thinking about that reflection, that figure already there, already in the cooler glass, before I even turned to look. It was not following me that night. It was already there waiting for me, which means it knew I was coming back before I did. I do not know what that means. I just know I am not finding out. I've been trying to figure out how to tell this story for 6 weeks, and I still don't have a version that doesn't sound made up. So, I'm just going to put the facts down and let people decide. I worked the night shift at a corner market on 24th Street in South Phoenix, south of Van Buren, which, if you know Phoenix history, you know is the line the city drew in the 1930s to decide where people of color were allowed to live. The only red line zone in the entire state of Arizona. Community grocery stores on this specific corner got torn down years ago. The store I work in now is one of the few spots left on the block where people can actually buy food without getting in a car. That matters to me. That's why I took the job. The lottery machine sits against the left wall near the door. Old unit, been there longer than I've. Not the new touchscreen kind. The kind with the buttons and the thermal printer that makes a sound like a small animal clearing its throat when it spits out a ticket. 6 weeks ago, on a Thursday, around 2:13 in the morning, it printed a ticket. Nobody was at the machine. Nobody had been in the store for over an hour. The alarm was armed on the door, so I would have heard it if anyone came in. The machine just ran through its printing cycle on its own and spit out a ticket and went quiet again. I looked at the ticket, 6 numbers. I figured it was a glitch, some kind of test cycle running in the background. I threw it away and went back to restocking. Next Thursday, 2:13, another ticket. I kept this one. I started keeping all of them. And after about 4 Thursdays, I had enough tickets to start looking at the numbers. Because here's the thing, they weren't random. I'm not somebody who plays the lottery. I don't know anything about patterns or draws. But even I could see that these numbers had a structure to them. They repeated. Certain combinations came up more than once. Whatever was generating these tickets wasn't running random. I showed them to a woman I know who has lived in South Phoenix her whole life. The kind of person who knows the neighborhood's history the way other people know their own family history. She looked at the numbers for a while. Then she asked me where I worked exactly. I told her the block. She got quiet. She said some of those number combinations she had seen before. Not on lottery tickets, on old records, dates mostly, years, that corresponded to people who used to live in the neighborhood, people who were gone. I want to be clear that I'm not saying I believe that. I'm saying that's what she told me, and that I went home and I started cross-referencing what I could find. And I spent about 2 days going through old obituaries and neighborhood records from the area, and I don't have a clean explanation for what I found, and what I found lines up with what she said in ways I can't account for. Then last Thursday happened. At 2:13 a.m., the machine runs. I was already watching it by this point, every Thursday, sitting in the chair behind the register with my eyes on that machine. It printed a ticket. I walked over and picked it up. The first 4 numbers were the same as the previous week. The last 2 weren't numbers, they were text. my first and last name, spelled correctly, both of them. And below that, my home address, the full address with the apartment number. I've worked at that store for 2 years. I've never given my home address to anyone connected to that store. My address isn't listed anywhere public. I'm very careful about that. As a woman working nights alone, nobody should have it. The lottery machine has my address. I called the lottery commission the next morning and reported a machine malfunction. They said they would send a technician. The technician came 2 days later, ran diagnostics, said everything looked fine. No unauthorized print cycles on record. No record of the Thursday morning tickets at all. No record. Like they didn't happen. Like I'm the only one who knows they did. I still have every ticket, 6 weeks of them, in a folder at my apartment, including the one with my name on it. I haven't thrown that one away, though I can't fully explain why. Maybe because having it feels safer than not having it. Like whatever printed it already has my location, and keeping the ticket isn't going to change that. This Thursday is in 2 days. I'm going in for my shift. I don't have another option, it's my job. But I'm going to be sitting behind that register at 2:13 in the morning, and I'm going to be watching that machine, and I don't know what I'm going to do if it prints something else. I don't know if I'm being warned. I don't know if I'm being watched. I don't know if whatever is using that machine is connected to this neighborhood and the people who were here before me, or if it's something else entirely. What I know is that something knows my name. Something knows where I sleep. And every Thursday at 2:13 in the morning, it has been finding a way to tell me. I just don't know what it's trying to say. I want to be clear before I say anything else that I am not somebody who believes in this stuff. I was not before that night, and I am barely there now, but I need to put this somewhere outside my own head. I stopped at a market on Pennsylvania Avenue in Baltimore on a Thursday night, maybe 11:30. I live nearby. I've been to that store probably 100 times. Went in for juice and something to eat. The kind of quick stop where you're in and out in 4 minutes, and you're not really paying attention to anything. I was in the second aisle when I noticed the other customer, a woman, standing at the far end of the aisle, facing the shelves. Didn't register as strange at first. There's nothing strange about another person in a store, but something about her made me slow down. The way she was standing, maybe, or the clothes, which were a little off somehow. Not costume off, not dramatically wrong, just slightly out of time the way certain things are when you look at them closely and can't name what's different. She didn't move. That was the thing. I walked the whole length of the aisle, picked up what I needed, looked back, and she hadn't moved at all. Exactly the same position, facing the shelves, not looking at anything, not reaching for anything, just standing. I went to the next aisle, got my juice, came back around. She was in the middle of the aisle now. I know where she was before. I measured it in my head, the way you do when your brain is trying to build a case for a rational explanation. She had been at the far end of the aisle, near the back wall. She was now in the middle, maybe 15 feet closer to where I was standing. And I hadn't heard her move. I hadn't heard anything. No footsteps, no movement, no sound at all from that direction. I looked at the counter. The guy working was looking somewhere near me, but not at me. He had this particular expression, not scared, just watchful, the way somebody looks when they're tracking something without making it obvious they're tracking it. She turned her head. She didn't turn her body, just her head. Turned toward me, slow, the kind of slow that is too deliberate to be casual, and she looked at me, and whatever was looking at me through her face. I do not have a word for what I saw in that expression. Not threatening, not kind, just present, just aware of me in a way that made my whole body say, "We need to leave right now." I walked to the counter, put my stuff down, didn't look back, paid. The counter guy said my total twice before I heard him. He did not say anything about the woman. I did not ask. I took my bag. I walked to the door, and I made a mistake. I looked back. She was standing where I had been standing, at the counter, facing the door, facing me. I pushed out the door, and I walked home faster than I have walked anywhere in a long time. I did not run, because I did not want to run. I had my keys in my hand. I went inside and I locked the door, and I stood in my kitchen and I called my friend and talked for 45 minutes about nothing because I needed to hear a normal voice. I went back to that store 2 days later in the middle of the afternoon because I needed to prove to myself I was being irrational. Broad daylight, 2 o'clock, several other customers, nothing. Completely normal. The counter guy was there, different shift maybe, or same one, I couldn't tell. I didn't ask him about it. What would I even say? Was there a woman in the second aisle on Thursday night who moved without moving and then stood where I was standing when I left? I just paid for my stuff and went home. But I still think about the expression on her face when she looked at me. The specific quality of being seen by something and understanding that it has been waiting a long time for someone to actually look back. I don't go there at night anymore. I tell myself it's just easier to go during the day. That's all it is. It's just easier during the day. I moved away from the north side of Minneapolis when I was 17 and didn't go back much for a long time. Life does what it does. But last spring I was in the city for a few days and had some time. So I drove back to the neighborhood just to walk around, see what was still there and what wasn't. A lot was gone. The barbershop on Penn, the soul food place, the salon that used to have the whole block smelling like relaxer on Saturdays. You know how it is when you go back. You're doing the math in your head. Still there, gone, gone, still there. And the ratio is always worse than you expected. Plymouth Avenue used to be the heart of everything up there. Community businesses going back generations. Corner stores where everybody knew everybody. The city and the highway took a lot of it. What's left carries the weight of what used to be around it. But the store was still there. Little market on Plymouth. Same painted signs, same bars on the window. I stopped on the sidewalk just to look at it because I wasn't expecting it to still be standing. I went in there probably every day, from when I was about 8 until we moved. That store holds more of my childhood than my actual childhood home does. I went inside, quiet. One other person browsing in the back, and behind the counter, a man, old man, heavy set, the glasses with the thick frames, the same apron I remembered, white, with a logo on the chest that had faded to almost nothing. He was looking down at something when I walked in. Then he looked up, and he smiled, the specific smile of somebody who actually recognizes you. He said my name, my actual name, the nickname nobody has called me since I was a teenager, the one only people who knew me before I grew into myself would know to use. He said, "Look who it is," and then the name, and then the usual. I stood there for a second. Then I laughed because what else do you do when somebody remembers you after 20 years? And I said, "Yeah, the usual." And he made it, the same thing I always got as a kid, without me saying what it was. He just made it and slid it across the counter and I paid. And I thanked him and asked how he'd been, and he said, "Can't complain, same as always." And I walked back out onto Plymouth and sat on the hood of my rental and ate my food and felt something I didn't expect, like I'd gotten a piece of something back. That night I texted my cousin, who still lives up there, told her I'd come back, that the store was still there, that Mr. Calvin was still behind the counter and still remembered me after all this time. She didn't respond for a while, long enough I figured she'd gone to sleep. Then she called. She didn't say hello. She said, "What did you just say?" I told her again. The store, Mr. Calvin, the usual, all of it. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I need you to hear me clearly. Mr. Calvin closed that store in 2008. His son tried to keep it going, but it didn't take. Mr. Calvin got sick and he passed away in 2011. I went to the funeral. His family's still up here. I see his daughter at church." I said nothing. She said, "I don't know what store you walked into, but it wasn't his. I've been back home for 2 months, and I haven't told this to anybody except her. I've turned it over in my head every way I know how." I walked into a store I recognized, on a block I grew up on, and a man I recognized knew my name and my order, and I paid him and ate the food sitting on Plymouth Avenue. I have the change in my wallet, $7 and some cents from a man who has been gone for 15 years. I haven't moved it. I'm not sure I'm going to. My cousin asked me one question before we got off the phone. She said, When you think back on it, did anything seem off? Anything feel wrong? I've thought about that every day since. The honest answer is no. He looked like himself. He looked exactly the way I remembered him, which should have been the first sign, because that man would have been in his 80s at minimum. The man behind the counter didn't look like he'd aged a day since I was 8 years old. He looked like the version of himself that existed the last time I ever saw him. He looked like the version of himself I carried with me when I left the neighborhood, and I think whatever was behind that counter recognized that version of me too. The 8-year-old who used to come in after school, not the person I've become since. I think I didn't find the store. I think the store found me. I think something on that block knew I was returning before I did, and it made sure the door was open when I got there. I just don't know what it wanted in return for the usual.
If you made it this far, I want to thank you very much. Please get in those comments and tell me which story was your favorite. Please subscribe, like the video, hype it if you have time. Thank you for your time.